We all love an underdog, whether it's something like Mike Eruzione in the 1980 USA Olympic hockey team winning gold at Lake Placid, to things in entertainment terms like Katniss Everdeen overcoming all odds to win the Hunger Games, or Frodo and Sam taking the ring to Mount Doom. Underdogs are part of our storytelling landscape. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Peg. And today we're not talking about underdogs in terms of storytelling. We're going to look at it from a slightly different perspective. We're going to be talking about video games that I think are underdogs, video games that are overlooked and underrated in terms of their popularity. And we're starting on 8-bit systems with the Sega Master System, the NES, and the portable powerhouse, the Game Boy. And we're starting on the Game Boy with a punk rock tomato.
The best thing about Quirk, besides its amazing box art, which, I mean, like I said, punk rock tomato, can't go wrong with that. The best thing about Quirk is that it does so much with so very, very little, because graphically, this game is a dog. It's not good. It's really ugly. It's really hard to make out what's going on screen, but you can figure out what you need to do just based on the fantastic gameplay. This is a puzzle game where you're moving obstacles around to either fill a hole, move things out of the way so you can get to the exit, or using a second character that you're able to control to be able to block things from moving, etc., etc. It's a brilliant kind of logic puzzle that is just so much fun to play and just so well designed and so well executed. I was gifted this game by my mom, I want to say, one Christmas, and I couldn't understand why I got a game with a punk rock tomato on the cover, and it ended up being one of my absolute favorite Game Boy titles. It's not one I hear folks talk about very often, so to me, this one is decidedly overlooked, and that's a shame because it's wonderful. I've been a fan of Asterix for as long as I can remember. I was lucky to grow up down in Massachusetts called Fall River, where we had a lot of people that visited or moved there from Europe. So we had a lot of influx of European comics. So I knew things like Tintin, like Asterix the Gaul here. It was something that I knew when I was younger. So to see him in a video game, I think is incredibly cool. And you get to not only control Asterix, who drinks his magic potion and gains his super strength, you also get to control Obelix, who is his big, gentle, loving friend. And the game is wonderful. It is a platformer. This was a European release exclusively, so the reason this one went overlooked over here in the States is because it never came out here. But the game itself is just fantastic. This is one that I actually discovered via emulation, and as someone who loves Asterix, I saw the name on the list of games, and I was like, oh my god, I need to play that. That's going to be fantastic, and I was not disappointed. Each character plays a little bit differently. The level designs are really fun. The combat is basic, but still enjoyable. I really like this one. It's a shame that people don't know too much about it just because it was a European exclusive game, but if you play it, you'll love it too. Stop and you'll see, wish I could be part of your world. And I wish people recognized how much fun this game is, and I am guilty as charged of being a hater on this title. Like, I'm not a Little Mermaid fan to begin with, so wasn't going to play it when I was younger, and I got this in a Video Games Monthly shipment, and I remember, like, rolling my eyes when I saw it and just being like, oh, come on, man, I don't want to play this. And what I got is a really, really well-done game. I never should have doubted Capcom in a Disney license. I really shouldn't have. You play as Ariel. You have different mermaid powers, I guess, for lack of a better term. You're able to collect things, pick them up, use them as weapons, use them as ways to kind of eliminate the enemies that are on screen. It's a really well-designed game. It's really fun. It's not perfect. Like, there's some aspects of it where I'm just like, okay, that's a bit of a miss, but I love it. I think a lot of people overlook this one in favor of things like DuckTales or Rescue Rangers, and that's a shame because it's a really solid title and definitely worth playing if you haven't done so. Don't skip this one just because you don't like The Little Mermaid. Unless you do love The Little Mermaid, and then you should play it. Motocross Maniacs was the game that lived in my Game Boy when I was younger, if I wasn't playing Tetris, to be fair. When so many people were busy playing things like Super Mario Land, or they were playing other games that released at the launch of the Game Boy that I'm not remembering off the top, baseball, alleyway, stuff like that, I was playing Motocross Maniacs, and I was head over heels in love with this game. And to this day, it's one of my favorite Game Boy experiences. I love racing games. I love driving games. And this was something that I had never seen before. This was Excitebike, but much better. It was awesome to be able to do these crazy loops, to go on these amazing jumps. And I didn't feel like it was trying to just like beat me down like Excitebike frequently did. And I just enjoyed this one so much more. And I thought it was such a quality experience from top to bottom that I just love it, and I love it to this day. And I love every version of Motocross Maniacs that I played. Like this one, Motocross Maniacs 2, the Game Boy Advance release, like every single one of them is really fun. Absolutely love this title, and you can find this for like a Coke and a song now. It costs nothing, and it's absolutely worth playing. Don't overlook this one just because it was an early Game Boy release. It's fun as hell. It's hard to say that Double Dragon is an overlooked game when it's, Double Dragon. It's spectacular. But this is the Sega Master System version, and the one I always hear people talk about is the NES release, and the Master System version exceeds it in every single way. The graphics are better. The combat is better. Everything is better on the Sega Master System release of Double Dragon. It's my preferred way to play the game. I really love this one. It is challenging. It feels more true to the arcade experience. Like, it's not one-to-one. That wasn't going to happen, but it's pretty damn close to what you got in the arcades. And it's really, really fun. Like, I know so many people love the NES release, myself included. I love the NES release. I love 2 more, but this first release of Double Dragon on the Master System is just magnificent. I cannot recommend this one enough, and I am shocked when people tell me how much they love Double Dragon and they have never played this Master System version. If you haven't played the Battle of Olympus, you would be forgiven for looking at it and saying, that's a Zelda 2 clone, I don't want to play it. And I ain't gonna lie to you, Zelda 2 almost made the list on this one because I love that game too. But for me, there's something special about the Battle of Olympus. I grew up a massive fan of Greek mythology. It was something I absolutely loved reading about. I loved going to the library and checking out books about Greek culture and the ancient Greek pantheon and things like that. And to see that recognized as a viable medium for storytelling via video games in this NES game blew my mind when I was a kid. There was nothing I wouldn't do to get this game. It was something that I had to have it. I loved it when I got it. I thought it was fantastic, and I greatly ignored the fact that there was probably some borrowed assets from Zelda 2. There was definitely some borrowed gameplay from Zelda 2, but I still loved it. It didn't matter to me. And to this day, this was one of the first games that I went out and made sure that I got a complete in-box copy of when I started collecting games for the NES again. It's a fantastic title. It does play a lot like Zelda 2, so if you're not a fan of Zelda 2, you can just move on past this one. But to me, this is just something where the setting, the story, and everything that went into making this game and designing this game and how much it just kind of stuck the landing for me personally makes me think this one is underrated. Absolutely worth playing. Absolutely phenomenal title. Survival Kids is something really unique. So this is a Game Boy Color release, and this is one of the first experiences I can really remember outside of a PC where the focus of the game is survival. Like, it wasn't a traditional role-playing game. It wasn't something where you needed to, collect the hearts and, go find a magical sword. No, you were collecting food and stuff to build fires with and to survive on. And you had to avoid enemies because you could get poisoned like I do repeatedly by these stupid wasps. It's just so clever and so smartly designed. I was blown away by this game when I first played it, and I still am to this day. Like, it is such a signature experience to me, and this is one of the games I think of when I think Game Boy Color, and I keep forgetting to talk about this on the channel, so I'm taking the opportunity now because I think more people need to know about it. If you haven't played it, you should. It's a really spectacular title. There's a sequel in Japan as well. It's really good, but you need to download an English language patch to be able to play it, because unless you read Japanese, in which case you're good to go. But for me, needed an English language patch, but the original one, no joke, absolutely worth playing. In this case, I'm saying this one is overlooked because it is overshadowed greatly in popularity by its Genesis counterpart, Castle of Illusion. This is Castle of Illusion for the Sega Master System. And while, the one on the Genesis probably has a nicer coat of paint, and is definitely more popular, this game is no slouch, man. It is really fun. It makes great use of the Disney license. Like, this is a pure Mickey adventure. Like, this feels like it stepped out of the Silly Symphony shorts from the 1930s and 1940s. I really enjoy this one, and I like all of the Disney games on the Master System, for the record. Like, you can't go wrong with anything from Mickey or Donald on the Master System. They're both wonderful. I just kind of figured y'all get tired of me talking about the Lucky Dime Caper because I bring that up whenever I can. Hey, I just did it again. I love this one, though. Castle of Illusion is great. It's a fantastic counterpart to the original Castle of Illusion on the Sega Genesis. It plays differently. It doesn't have like a force-fed level layout that's similar to the Genesis version. It's its own unique experience. Absolutely worth playing if you haven't done so. This game is one I hunted for a long time. I looked for it at multiple conventions. I never found it. I got lucky at the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo a couple of years. I wandered into a booth, and lo and behold, there it was. This is Burger Time in Bedrock. Now, what is Burger Time in Bedrock, you may ask? It's Burger Time in Bedrock. Yep, you play as Fred, who is taking the role of Peter Pepper in this game, and you have your giant caveman club, and you go around and you're playing Burger Time, man. It's really not that hard to explain. It's just like Burger Time, and so much so that it's incredibly difficult. It can be very frustrating and unfair, but I love it. It is a classic arcade experience. It is a wonderful game. I love the addition of the Flintstones license on this title because, I mean, while on the surface it doesn't really make sense, when I stop and think about it, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, Fred's the character I can see eating a bunch of hamburgers. Love this one. Absolutely fantastic title. Gotta thank my buddy John Riggs for telling me about this game because I was a fan of Captain America and the Avengers, the arcade experience, as well as the Super Nintendo release and the one on the Genesis, which I eventually picked up. And he told me, Jay, you need to play the NES release. And I said, the NES release? It's that kind of crappy platformer, right? Where you only get to play as Cap and Hawkeye? He said, Jay, just trust me, you've got to try it out. And I did, and he's not wrong. It is magnificent. It is such a wonderful platformer. It's great. Like, both characters play true to form. Like, Cap has a little bit more superpowers than Hawkeye does, but Hawkeye has more range because, you know, he's got a bow and arrow. So each character plays a little bit differently. The level designs are really well done. It's got a good challenge to it while still being fair and fun. So it doesn't lean too hard into NES difficult where you just want to, like, you know, pull your hair out and throw your controller against the wall, but love it. Absolutely love it. And, you know, I'm a sucker for a licensed game anyway, so when I could get a good licensed 8-bit game, you know I'm down for it. Captain America and the Avengers rules, man.
There you have it, my friends. 10 overrated and underlooked 8-bit video games. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you think are overrated and underlooked.
We have so much time and so little to do. Strike that. Reverse it.
I had a great interaction with folks on Threads, on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm pretty sure there were some other Blue Sky as well. All those links can be found in the description down below if you want to follow me on socials. I'd love to have your interaction. They gave me some great names. One of the best was from my friend Lindsay, LL Cool Games. She suggested Little Samson. And Little Samson, you might be going, but Jay, that game is decidedly not underrated. But it is, because it's always talked about in terms of value. And in most cases, people just kind of ignore the fact that it's also a really fun game. There's also some stuff that was suggested like Bigfoot on the NES, or my friend D suggesting the Space Harrier on the Sega Master System. These are all incredible suggestions, all incredible games. Check out the threads. I'll have links down in the description below if you want to see the games other people suggested. Be sure to give me a follow. If this is your first time here, click subscribe, click like if you enjoyed today's video, and hey, if you really enjoyed this, check out the link on screen right now where I check out 10 other games I think you might enjoy. Till next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.